What's going on, guys? I'm Yashai, this is FireFace Films, and today we're talking about why you need timecode, and by extension, the Deity TC-1 timecode system. But before we do that, make sure you drop a like, get subscribed, and click that bell to get notified when we post. On with the show. So, what is timecode? A series of devices, generally a little box like the one that you're seeing right here, and they're all going to have synchronized clocks that cannot drift. And you'll plug each of those synchronized clocks onto your camera, recorder, switcher device if you're doing a multi-camera setup in a studio. And then each of those things will have the timecode metadata, which is essentially the clock time of the day, written as metadata in the video/audio file. And then when you go to take it in post, those things will be connected via time rather than the slap, clap of the slate. So that makes for a nigh bulletproof setup for syncing your audio and video in post. Let's talk about the basics of the Deity TC-1. So in the box, you can expect 3 units, or 1 if you're just buying singles, a series of timecode cables including a 3.5 locking to 5-pin LEMO, a 3.5 to locking 3.5, and a 3.5 locking, of course, to BNC connection. Now, I would prefer it if there was another 3.5 to 3.5 in the box, as most of the devices that we're using timecode with at the moment are 3.5 based. Although it is handy because I was just on a shoot where we had to give the sound recordist a BNC cable. So, I mean, we had it. So it was good to have it in the box, but I would prefer in the box just one more 3.5 to 3.5. That would be great. These units work fantastically with the Sidus audio app. So at the start of every day, we generally sync up all the units that we're going to be using, generally the 2 out of the 3, and we're going to sync up the time, the frame rate, and the date. And I just simply hand off 1 unit to the recordist and stick 1 unit on the camera for the day, and then we go on about our business. Generally, we have not run out of power, the units have not fallen out of sync, and they have been a fantastic boon. So the battery life of the units is about 22 to 25 hours, and we've never had any of the units actually die on set. The longest shoot we've actually had them on at this point has been about a 14-hour day, which is about half-ish of the battery life of the unit, which is no slouch. And even in that time, we didn't experience any drift, which is awesome, as the drift rating for it is right here on the screen. I can't remember that number offhand, but it's very good. You can go almost an actual full 24 hours without experiencing any drift, which is pretty awesome. And other compatible accessories include the Deity TC-1, which is their timecode slate, and the recently released Deity Theos, which is it's our forerunner for our new audio wireless system, as opposed to the Rode Wireless Go, as that system has 32-bit float recording and can be used as a timecode device, or can be synced with the same Sidus audio app with the rest of your timecode devices, that in the event that you're recording and somehow you lose signal from the rest of your wireless setup, the units can keep recording. Although I think that's only a feature that's enabled outside of the US, as I'm pretty sure Zaxcom still holds that patent. Now let's talk workflow. So I'm gonna be honest, we've had to use the Deity TC-1 in a bit of a bootleg way. So essentially, and this would apply for any timecode system with this particular method, but we don't have a camera that has, or a recorder for that matter, that has a dedicated timecode port. So what we've had to do is the audio LTC method, which essentially you plug a timecode unit into your 3.5mm port, and then a timecode unit into an audio channel on your recorder. You're going to sacrifice 1 channel of audio on the recorder, and you're going to sacrifice your audio entirely on your camera if it only has 1 audio input. And then you will hear this awful sound. Once you have that sound, what you do then is take it into the Timecode Tentacle app, which is at this current juncture the only app that I know of where you can convert audio LTC into timecode metadata. In the Timecode Tentacle app, you will highlight all of your audio files and then read the audio TC, which basically is going to convert that audio LTC track that you've recorded, and then turn that into metadata for all the rest of your tracks. And then once you've done that, you'll export and send it back out into a folder. Generally, I title it TC Audio so I can know that this is the time-coded audio with the metadata. So once I take it into Resolve, this is the audio I'll use for the sync. And in Resolve, for the video, it's as simple as importing it and hitting the button Update Timecode from Audio Track. And once you do that, you'll see the time code on the video metadata in your bins change from whatever it was into the actual time code that was recorded with that LTC. And once you've done that, you just shift click everything and then auto sync by time code, and then boom, you've just gotten a bunch of synced audio by time code in not exactly one click, but a lot less clicks than hoping for the Slate auto sync to work. Because sometimes in Resolve, I can't speak to Premiere, but sometimes syncing via audio in Resolve is a bit of a crapshoot. Let's talk the ideal scenario. So this applies to any timecode system, but today we're talking about the Deity TC-1. But ideally, you would have a camera and a recorder, and probably a switcher, that all have dedicated timecode ports. And in that case, your timecode will be written as metadata alongside the video and audio files, so that once you do take it into the post setting, it's as simple as that last step that we discussed earlier, which is auto sync via timecode, as opposed to doing all these conversions and hitting all these extra steps and throwing away audio channels. It is that simple. So let's talk quirks. So the program to convert the audio LTC Timecode Tentacle app is only on Windows, but it is free. So I can say that if you are doing this setup and you're working on Mac, you might want like a spare Windows computer on hand just to do your timecode sync, which is a bit of an inconvenience. And then neither app, nor the Mac or the Windows app, can accept raw footage. So if you're shooting raw footage and you need to convert the timecode audio, you are very much out of luck. Although generally, if you have a camera that's shooting raw, you probably, and I do say probably because a lot of mirrorless cameras are incorporating raw these days, but if you're shooting raw, you are out of luck for doing any audio LTC conversion through those apps. But if you're processing in Resolve, no problem. You just have the update timecode from audio track, thankfully. And then on set, well, for the camera purposes, if you're doing the LTC method, you do not have the ability to watch playback and have audio on hand, because you will hear that terrible timecode sound. Although if you're working with a timecode capable camera, not a problem. You will simply just be the metadata and you'll have your audio as desired. Hey, slight interruption, guys. So one of the ways you can get around throwing away your audio when you're using LTC timecode and camera is a splitter cable like this. So basically you're just gonna plug into your audio port here, and then just mic into one port and then timecode into another port. Okay, one channel is blasting timecode and the other channel is doing audio from the mic here. So that is a good way to still have some scratch audio just in case timecode somehow fails you. But it won't unless you set it incorrectly. So that's another thing. Now, as previously mentioned, DaVinci Resolve does have an in-app method for converting audio timecode on your video tracks. But if you're editing Premiere, you do not have that option. So if you do not have a timecode capable camera, you're kind of out of luck, which is weird to think about because Premiere is a fairly, robust editing system. So why they don't have that option is bizarre. And I think that's something that should be incorporated. Although we're not talking about the shortcomings in Premiere because that is its own separate thing. A lot of editors know. But I also can't count on Avid because I haven't used Avid in years and you can't buy perpetual licenses for it anymore. So if you're an Avid user, you may also be out of luck. But if you were an Avid user and you've run into this situation, please drop it below in the comments and let the rest of the audience know, because that's something we definitely want to know, because I'm sure someone else, someone somewhere has used this method, is using this method. So and they might be editing an Avid, very strange combination of events happening here, but we know it's probably happening somewhere. So, funny story. At the time of writing this video, I was under the impression that the recordist, if you don't have a timecode capable camera, is going to have to hear the sound of timecode. But recently on a shoot, we discovered that if you are using the LTC method on your recorder, if it's a fairly modern one, you can change the mix. You can just turn down the mix of the timecode channel, so your recordist doesn't have to be assaulted by the sound of timecode in their ears, which, if you've been in the situation, you know what it sounds like. Hearing that in your ears while you're trying to listen to critical sound is awful, but we figured it out. Just turn it down in the mix. It's over. It's good. So now we have bulletproof audio sync, and dare I say, no downsides. I mean, does it get any better? Are there any downsides to this product? honestly, I can say no. It's fairly robust. Deity knocked it out of their park for their first outing at Timecode, really. There are only two things I can really think of that can be improved. One is that given that this is a Bluetooth operation setup, they could find a way to incorporate Bluetooth timecode with cameras. That was just implemented with the Tascam units and the Atomos UltraSync Blue. So basically, they now have the ability to do wireless timecode with cameras like the XH2S, and I'm sure other cameras in the future. And if it's not a patented technology, I think that Deity should absolutely take that technology and apply it to their timecode systems, because that would open up a world of like new users, especially if they can do Bluetooth timecode with the type of dongles that go with Zoom recorders and Tascam recorders. That would be so great, because then we would have timecode metadata in the recorder, and we'd have one less thing to worry about with timecode in a device. Because if we can just take that one step out of post-production and not have to do the conversions, it'd be great. It would be great. So if Deity can work on that and it's not some type of patent infringement, that would be excellent. Another interruption. So, turns out, in the making of this video, Deity actually made their own LTC timecode processing app. So now you can actually do this and not have to worry about the timecode technical app being weird across Mac and Windows. And it's still in beta, but I'm definitely going to be trying it, because having a unified system across the board is exactly what all filmmakers and post-production people want. Sort of. Anyway, back to the video. What's the bottom line? Well, I think it's safe to say that timecode, whether it be the Deity TC-1, which we're talking about today, but timecode as a system is an essential piece of your filmmaking kit, especially if you are doing both audio and video. If you're doing audio, you want to have it in your kit so you can give it to the camera team. If you're doing camera, you want to have it in your kit so you can give it to the audio team if they don't have it. It is that important. I think if you are any self-funded, self-operating camera team, filmmaking team, you should have timecode in your kit. And you will save yourself a lot of post-production headaches. Not all of them, because there's still plenty of post-production headaches that can be abound. But audio and video related ones will be pretty much handled by having timecode in your kit. And you should have it. So let this be a ringing endorsement that timecode is something you should have in your filmmaking kit. Deity TC-1 especially, simply because we didn't even talk about it, but the interface of the unit is so great. Think about the UltraSync or the Tentacle. The Tentacle has no physical buttons on it. There's one button, turn it on, and it is app-based only. But the Deity has a screen on it. And I will say it one last time, you should have timecode in your kit. And yeah, that's timecode. That's Deity timecode in a nutshell, basically. Well, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. If you have any other insight about timecode, drop in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, drop in the comments below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.